Just now I was doing a live, and my question to you was, is COVID over and done with? And the reason I was asking this, because I just contracted COVID after having been able to dodge it for 2 years. And the reason I did is because all restrictions are lifted. So the cool thing was I was doing this live. Joe got to join me, then Ellen got to join me, and then we talked about so many things, including the difference between the UK and the US when it comes to accents and the words and phrases and meanings. And so then I walked up to show the environment. Hang on. Yeah, I'm also allergic to birch trees, and they are in the area here. So it's a combination of both. Anyway, I walked here to show, and then the live just crashed because it didn't go smoothly from Wi-Fi to 5G. So that was horrendous. What I did want to say is, so is COVID over and done with? And the reason I said so is, again, all restrictions has been lifted since a week. And for 2 years, I've been able to dodge the whole COVID thing. So I remember being in LA when we got COVID. Yeah, this happens when I start sneezing. It's what they call the chicken and the egg over here. So we need to sneeze because we want to clear our nose. And then as a result, when we clear our nose, when I start to sneeze, it actually clogs my nose. So it does the exact opposite thing. Okay, so in the Netherlands, restrictions have been lifted, but it's gone to the extreme. So I'm very happy and I'm very grateful for the clubs to be open again. Not that I'm necessarily going clubbing, but I do like to be able to have dinner after 10 in the evening. Well, quite honestly, that's not a standard here, not a norm in the Netherlands. That's why I love going to the US, because there at 5 at night you can still have dinner. And over here, if you want to have dinner at 5 at night, it's either you need to order in or you have to go to the Mac, and that's not always the food I'm longing for at 5 during the morning. Anyway, when I say all restrictions have been lifted, I mean all restrictions. So people can bump into one another, which I don't like because I don't have a good balance. We don't have to wear facial masks anymore, and we don't need to get tested. We don't need to use the Corona Check app. And that's a shame, quite honestly. So it makes me wonder if people are saying Corona is over and done with, literally. And hi, Mariela, if you want to join, you're always welcome. If they're saying, well, it's nothing more than just a cold. And if people say so, then I say, well, hang on, because I actually know people who have gotten it pretty bad. So, well, if you want to join, just send a request or let me know, and I'll add you to the live. In my case, so people have been wondering how I've been doing. So I noticed something was off last Monday. It was my birthday, and I've been going out on Friday night, and I had the best time ever. I really have to admit, I had the best time ever. So at first we had a little bite to eat somewhere, and then I was asked to join my friend to go to a gay bar, a gay club. Well, everyone is going to laugh, but I'll say it again. No, I'm not gay, I'm not a lesbian, I'm not bisexual. And a lot of people think so because of my voice. Because my voice is a little bit lower than it normally is, but because I have a cold like 24/7 every day of the year, I basically do sound like this. So And also, I do look for people like I am. It's really funny to see how people look at me. Anyway, gay bar was cool because they have a lot of music from the 80s and the 90s. There are a lot of people from my age. Of course, there are younger people too. And I said to my friend, like, okay, Corona is still going on. We need to be careful. So I said, okay, how are we going to do this? How are we going to be careful? So I was sitting 1 meter away from the door. Hello, Marianne. And so enough ventilation. Next to me was a table. So there was like 3-4 feet in between me and the next person, and in front of me too. But then when I called the club to mention to them that I was actually diagnosed with COVID, so to be to complete the whole story, I did 2 home tests. Both were negative. And since there's this allergy going on right now for the birch trees, which I'm highly allergic to, I can walk past them and then instantly I'm out of breath. I was like, well, it's probably that, but let's just be on the safe side. So yesterday I went there in the morning and then I got the results back that I'm positive. So I'm in quarantine right now, and I'm sitting outside, and it really brings back like everything like 2 years ago when we were sitting outside, and I was like, I want to record my videos and I want to do my own stuff. But normally I would go to Starbucks, and of course that wasn't possible back then because everything had been shut down. So here I am, and I'm wondering about it, and I was like, okay, so when I called the club, they said, well, congrats. We get weekly calls about people who've got COVID, and that's when I realized I was in a corona pool, basically. So, and that's, I wasn't too happy when I learned that I basically was in this corona pool. I mean, I tried to avoid corona as best as I could in the past 2 years. Yeah, exactly. And then all of a sudden, there I am exposed to it. And of course, I did realize it. I mean, especially in a gay bar, let's be honest, they were, you can imagine what people were doing. And keeping distance was not one of those, let me tell you. But again, I had a great time. I was sitting on the bar stool. I was dancing. People always get inspired when they see me dancing on the bar stool because I'm having a blast. I just can't stand all the time dancing because I don't have that ability just yet. But that doesn't mean that I didn't have a good time. So now everybody's asking me, how are you doing? How are you feeling? So I know a lot of people out there only have like minor cold. So I'm one of those people. I'm a caregiver, which means that I have direct patient contact, client contact. So that, and I was about to go and see someone yesterday. I'm glad that I didn't. But I did see other people. And it's a blessing in disguise that I didn't really celebrate my birthday last Monday. But having said so, I did have apple pie with someone. I was invited for dinner, so I did. I did talk to other people. So I saw a lot of people. And yesterday, or the day before yesterday, I went to the physical therapist where I go twice a week. I said I've done 2 negative tests. So I don't know why I'm having a cold, but something is going on. So I've got a lot of responsibilities, and of course I'm like this round the clock, not sniffling that much and not sneezing that much. But when I don't take my allergy medication, I'm actually doing this all the time. And that's one of the reasons why I hardly have any smell, because if you take that stuff, like 30 years, what I've done, 3 decades, you don't have any smell left. I can just tell you, it's the way it works. But it's that or sneezing all the time, and I hate sneezing all the time. I'll just be honest with you. So since one of my close friends, Joe, I'm on a live with her regularly. So if you go back 10 minutes ago, you've seen me on this live with her, and then we go live on Wednesdays on YouTube, speaking out live with Lady Lexi and Cheeky Joe. then you'll see she actually had contracted COVID in February, and she had to go to and get a lot of antibiotics and snuffers and puffers, as we call them. So this thing for in your nose, snuffing and puffing, as in for your throat and your lungs. So for me, there's not much difference. Back in December, I was planning on celebrating Christmas and New Year's Eve. I will feel better at some point. And I had it far worse than I've got it right now. I mean, I had a severe headache. This was clogged. And it took a long while. It was over a month before the dizziness stopped. And so for 3 decades now, at least 2, but I think 3, I've been experiencing feeling like this. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's nothing new. Every day I get up, it's like, okay, what am I going to feel like? I don't know. I simply don't know. I need to make sure that I drink a lot. So this thing, it's now empty. So I need to get another one. But I'm used to it, because if I don't, then I'll have a headache. I know I'll have a headache, so. And of course, and that's a side effect, I suppose, from the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, EDS. So I'm hypermobile. It also affects my lungs and also other stuff. So, again, I'm used to it. So it's not that bad. It's more like, okay, I can't go anywhere, and I know I need to rest. That's normal. I always need to take some rest and take some breaks during the day. So I'm going to lie down in a little bit. But I'm actually feeling pretty good, despite the COVID. But again, I wanted to record this video because I'm like, okay, so are we going to say Corona is over just because the war started with Ukraine? And of course, people are getting restless. A lot of entrepreneurs, business owners had to shut down their business. So people weren't living up to the rules anymore. And so I do understand why the Dutch government decided to stop and lift a number. Actually, they lifted all regulations. And that's what I do not agree with. And when I got called by the one who reaches out to find out about contacts and all that stuff, they basically only gave all the guidelines, and I was like, yeah, what use is this? You want me to stay in quarantine now? But there's no testing. No one knows what's going on. Everyone thinks they're having a minor cold or something, where it's the flu. I mean, it's the time of year. I thought I had an allergy too. So I'm experiencing a little bit of the difference. So she said, yeah, stay at home until your everything, your symptoms are gone. And I'm like, yeah, then I can stay home for the next decade or something. So that's not going to work. But anyway, I just wanted to reminisce a little bit about this, because is it fair to those people who need to watch out for their health? And yeah, I will say I'm one of those. And that's why I'm very grateful that it's not as bad as what I actually had last December. And even that wasn't as bad as I've had it before, because when I go on and I don't take a break, that's when the real pain starts to hit all over my face. It's like they take a sledgehammer and it's like they've taken a sledgehammer and swung it at my face, or like this and that when I'm walking. And that basically really hurts. So it's not that bad. And hopefully it won't be anymore. But yeah, I'm wondering right now, and that's something I'm saying out loud, is, are we capable of avoiding getting COVID? So the predictions are, at some point we are all going to get COVID. And here's the thing. What I'm reading nonstop is people who have contracted COVID are getting COVID again. And hi there. And we're not only talking about 1 year later, but also about 6 weeks later. So that's not good. I mean, and so those who can take vaccinations and can't have boosters, what's going to happen to them? So the one who got COVID really bad, she didn't receive her booster just yet. The one who had it really bad as well, wasn't vaccinated at all. The ones who were actually hadn't that much problems when it came to COVID. And I guess the same applies to me. And again, I'm used to this feeling. I mean, I'm used to having a slight headache due to this being clogged up. That's my life. And so every day it's like, okay, what am I going to do? Am I going to cycle outside? Am I going to take a walk? And what I really love doing, really love doing, is boxing with the physical therapist. So on Tuesday I go there and I do stability exercises, preferably outside. I love to be outside. When the weather allows it. And of course, I'm in the Netherlands, so most of the time it rains over here. But right now it's nice. It's a nice temperature. It's not too cold, so that's why I'm sitting outside, even when the sun is going down already and it's left. But yeah, I like the boxing. But when my joints are aching, of course I can't do it. And when I'm too tired, it will cost me like 4 or 5 days and sometimes longer before I fully recover. And I guess feeling like this is even a little bit better compared to when I would have done the boxing. So yeah, that probably gives a bit of an idea. So yeah, I have to wonder about this whole COVID thing. Is it the goal that we all get COVID and we get immunity? So what does the immunity consist of? Because I do hear people saying that once they get COVID for the second time, it's usually way worse than the first time. And of course, some people, they have constant reminders. So the way they smell has changed. Then there are those who have long COVID, who have problems with their breathing permanently. I'm an asthmatic, so I already have problems with my breathing permanently. 100% oxygen is something I can't remember when I had that for the last time. It must have been ages ago. But yeah, it does make me wonder, and I'm curious what all of you out there are thinking about it. So, are we over and done with COVID because we're tired of COVID? Is it okay that we consider it just a flu or just a cold when it actually can be way worse? I mean, just in the last few months, I've known about 2 people. One who's really close in this area, as in across this building, who passed away from COVID. Of course, underlying circumstances too. And someone else who we went live with, and she was very energetic. So when I heard she passed away from COVID, that was kind of shocking to me. And then when my friend Joe also contracted COVID, of course, she when we're talking about underlying conditions, he has had only little sleep because of being traumatized. So it makes me wonder what are we going to end up with? What's the goal of all of this? I mean, if we're going to get it anyway, will we be having restrictions again? I mean, summertime is coming. So we'll all be going outside. There's more ventilation because we're sitting outside. But are we just going to say, well, it's there and we take all casualties, like for granted? Because people like Joe, and I know I reference her a lot, but she lost her husband due to COVID. And just not too long ago, we were talking to her friend she knew through a community. We're talking about having lost their spouses due to COVID. Her friend also actually wanted to take her life when she had been drinking too much because she's missing her husband that much. And that's it has really ruined the economy. It has wrecked everything. But does that mean it's over and done with? Do we need to take it into consideration? There are so many variables, to consider. And of course, the main problem, and especially here in the Netherlands, apparently the Dutch government is proud of how they have reduced the care to being very organized. Well, they basically cost me my living too. Not because I got ill, but because of what they decided to pay for and whatnot. So I really had to reinvent myself, which is a good thing, by the way. I don't mind having reinvented myself, but I do mind not having had the choice. And when we get back to how I contracted COVID, it's that same thing. There was a choice, as in I could probably have not gone there. And I did discuss it with someone else, like, okay, what do we do? And so we talked about the ventilation and me sitting next to the door, all that stuff. But had I known it was going to be a COVID pool, I don't know if I would have gone there. I mean, it was the first time in my life I went there anyway. And for now, I'm not going to say I really regret it, because I don't. I had a really great time, and I mean, it's been over 2 decades that I actually went dancing somewhere, listened to music, all that stuff. So I really, really, really had a great time. I can't say anything else than, not 2 decades, 1 decade ago, that I really had this great of a time. No, it's 2 decades almost. I think 15 years. But still, I would have liked to have known the choice I made. And that's it. I wasn't really aware. And I knew that, of course, contamination had gone through the roof. But I don't think I realized the consequence of people not having to be tested beforehand, not having to prove that they either got COVID or were vaccinated. And I guess that's maybe something, and I'm not really going to say I regretted it, but I am going to say it's something to consider. And unwillingly and not knowing, I also exposed other people to COVID, because I did 2 home tests, and both home tests were negative. So I didn't know. I did explain it to them. I did talk about it. I said, I think it's an allergy, but I'm not sure. This is normal for me. It's not uncommon to feel like this. So yeah, that's basically, it's something, it's worried me a little bit. So I guess I'm kind of responsible. Yeah. But I'm curious. I'm curious what other people think about it, and I would like to send a message. I don't know if it'll be picked up on anyway, but the way, we've been protecting people for 2 years. We've basically ruined the economy big time for 2 years. We've wrecked lots of companies by applying all these rules. And I mean, if this is what we've come down to, why did we go and bother to go through all of this for 2 years? I mean, if this is what we are getting back to. And of course, I realize that not that many people are ending up in the hospital anymore, because the whole healthcare system was, it had gone downhill, of course. And I don't know if you remember all the tents that were set up in the foreign countries. Over here, we still have a waiting list, and the people, who definitely need the care, like urgent care, they're put on hold still, because everyone is still running behind. A lot of people have fallen ill or stopped working in the whole care system because of the strain that was put on them. So yeah, it has wrecked everything, but at what cost? And what we're doing is that really, can we reconcile this with what we sacrificed in the last 2 years? Just because we say it's more like a minor flu or a minor cold. And that's something to consider. And I don't know about you, but I do say this. I'm not happy with how easily we are treating this. And especially those people who lost their spouses, especially. And the first period that COVID hit, it's almost 2 years for them. And especially also the ones who've got long COVID. We still don't know what COVID does long term, but I have seen a lot of people who are struggling. They might have had a cold, and then like 2 or 3 months later, they actually got hit because there were actually physical changes. For instance, to the sternum, making it harder for them to breathe. And I wonder, do we have the option, the ability to avoid COVID altogether? And I don't know. I keep my distance because I don't have any stability. So I don't like to be close to people. And yet I contracted it. And, fortunately, I still apply most of the rules when it comes to keeping distance when I see my friends. But yet, I got it. And I got it because I went there to that club where everyone was dancing close to one another. And again, I was sitting on a bar stool, so there was like 3 or 4 feet distance between me and the next one. Well, maybe 3. And of course, some people were talking to me. And I was next to the door, which was constantly open. So, I don't know. I really am like, is it safe what we're doing? Do we need to go back to normality? There's no new normal because we're going back to the old normal. So how can we talk about new normal? We had a new normal for a while. And of course, the only thing we're not allowed to do is shake hands. And we still have to wash our hands regularly. But as for all else, it doesn't sit well with me. And like I said, I have been able to dodge it for 2 years. And when it was way worse. And now here we go. We're getting another peak again because they let go of everything, including the testing. And it's like as if the government doesn't seem to care. I mean, we've got new people, we've got new ministers here. So everything basically has changed. I don't know if this is the result of this, but again, I would really like to know how other people think about it. Anyway, I'll be going live again later this evening with Joe. So Joe and Ellen had a really vivid conversation about COVID, losing people, how to let people go. How do we know if we are not keeping them here, stuck? Because we want to have them close to us, especially when it comes to parents. It was a great conversation. And Joe and I will probably be continuing this because, again, just because there's a war going on, it doesn't mean COVID is over and done with. And just because everyone is sick and tired of living up to the rules, it doesn't mean it's over and done with. So what are we exposing ourselves and others to? And I know a lot of people aren't scared to get really sick because they're in good health. I do know that there are people who say, I wish if I'd known I would be this sick, I would have gotten my shots. I don't know. But it's ironic, to have been tiptoeing for 2 years and then On my birthday, I first got the first symptoms, just to find out that after 2 years I did contract COVID. The only thing is, I can say that due to the whole EDS and also my knees being ruined last summer, I've started living healthier. So that's a good thing. And I guess that's probably what's making all the difference right now. So having been in a caregiver for a long time, so I started out in the IT for 2 decades. And then I became a fitness trainer, medical fitness trainer, a massage, not a therapist, but I did give massages based on sports. Next, I became a therapist, an energetic therapist. I became coach, I became counselor, and I've started doing a lot when it comes to personal development and all that other stuff. And all this was the result of me wanting to know, okay, so what's going on with my system, what's going on with my body, combined with having had several burnouts when I still was working in IT. So I needed to reinvent myself, learn who I was. And I guess, when I started doing the becoming a medical fitness trainer or a fitness trainer, that basically changed my life for the better. Thinking about food, about vitamins, about supplements, all that stuff. Because when you are really serious, you just start hanging out with other people. And Chris will probably agree with me, and so will Fonda, because I know they still work out a lot. Having twisted on a break, twisted my ankle, and as a result, tearing a ligament, and having a bone gone on the loose, has of course made me dependent on walking with crutches until a couple of months ago, because of my second surgery. So I'll be forever in debt to the one who did my second surgery, Bella Van Dalen. She put 2 pins in my ankle, and of course the ligament was already stitched a few years prior to it. But I needed those pins in order to finally being able to walk again. So without her, my life would be very different right now. And I can't say anything else, but it's when those things happen that you start to think about life in a very different way, and including living a healthy lifestyle. And I also learned what my passion was, which is giving people a voice, because they're not heard, they're not seen, they're not understood, and as a result they start turning inwards, not sharing their story anymore with others, hurting themselves and harming others in the long run, possibly. There's nothing much more to say right now other than if you want to learn to speak out yourself, there will be a link where you can go